Hello gardener, welcome to my channel. March is a busy time in the garden for me as I plan to prepare for the spring garden season. There's a lot to talk about in this month's garden task tips and reminders guide. From fertilizing to pest management, these suggestions will keep your garden on track so you can make the most of the upcoming spring garden season. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Jara. I've been gardening all of my life and I'm a professional seed and plant nursery. I love to share my knowledge and teach others how to garden and grow food, so you've come to the right place if you want to improve your gardening skills. And if you haven't watched it already, go check out my garden guide for the month of March that went live last week. It lists over 40 different vegetables, flowers, and herbs that can be planted this month to give you inspiration and encourage you to try growing something new. I'll link it below in the description. All right, let's dive into these essential garden task tips and reminders for the month of March. My first tip is to start fertilizing any fruit trees that were dormant during the winter but have now woken up for spring. If you see new growth or bud formation, the tree has broke winter dormancy and is putting on new growth. So it's a good time to apply the first application of fertilizer of the year to encourage strong growth and production. My peach and nectarine trees are pushing out lots of new growth and flowers. When I see this, I know that spring has arrived in my area. I like to fertilize my fruit trees with Espoma citrus tone. Follow the directions to fertilize them well. Speaking of fruit trees, tip number 2 has to do with how you should plant new fruit trees in your garden. I like to plant fruit trees in a raised mound of compost, ideally around 3 feet high, rather than in a traditional hole at ground level. Elevating the root ball ensures better drainage, which is essential if you live in areas with high water tables or heavy rainfall, such as here in Florida. Here in my own garden, if I dig a little hole, it fills up with water. Plus, I get downpours, basically a monsoon of rain, every single day during the summer, and that causes a lot of root rot if I plant things at ground level. Once I began building raised mounds for my fruit trees, their survival rate and overall vigor improved dramatically. While this method is especially helpful in wet climates, it can also benefit any gardener by reducing the risk of waterlogging and encouraging a healthier root system. My tip number 3 is, now that you've planted up your spring garden, it's time to think of the next season ahead, and that's summer. Some summer crops take 2 to 3 months to grow to transplant size from seed, like peppers. So it is time to start planning what you want to grow this summer so you don't miss the ideal time to start seeds indoors, if that's what you're going to do. My 4th tip is to use more technology in the garden. Spring is the time when many people start a new garden for the first time, or you might be expanding upon an existing garden. Taking on more garden can get a little overwhelming. I am just one person and I manage my personal garden here at home and another garden on my aunt's property, all while working a full-time job, maintaining this YouTube channel, and my seed and plant nursery business. So how do I do it all? Well, I use technology to help me out as much as possible. I use a Rainpoint Wi-Fi enabled water timer that I control with an app on my phone to irrigate and fertilize my entire garden. This has saved me hours of garden work each week. Use smart power switches or timers to automatically turn on grow lights for all your seedlings grown indoors so you don't forget to turn them off and on. You can also use one of many gardening apps to help plan your garden. Technology has helped me save countless hours and has helped me grow even more without getting overwhelmed or frustrated. Tip number 5 has to do with the risk of a late spring frost. I have been getting a ton of questions from gardeners just a little hesitant to start planting once they're past their last spring frost date because they're worried a late frost might come. So this is what I think. If you plant after your last spring frost date instead of waiting until you're past all danger of frost, you're going to miss out on several weeks of growing time and harvest. More often than not, it works out. Sure, there will be some years where you get an unexpected late frost, but more often than not, you won't. So don't not plant because of fear. Instead, just be ready. Don't completely remove all your frost protection gear from the garden. Keep them nearby so it can be put back on quickly if a late frost is coming that can kill your tender, newly germinated or planted baby seedlings. My 6th tip has to do with the process of hardening off seedlings, because quite a few of you have also been contacting me asking me how to do it. Hardening off is a process of slowly introducing tender seedlings that have been grown indoors or in shade to the much stronger light that is outdoors coming from full sun, or to get used to outside temperatures. If you were to just move a seedling outdoors, it will most likely struggle to adjust and maybe die. You can get very technical about the process of hardening off seedlings, but I like to keep it simple. For the first week, I put my seedlings in a spot that gets bright morning sun but afternoon shade. Morning sun is gentle, afternoon sun is harsh. Then in the second week, slowly move them out so they start getting a few hours of afternoon sun. After that, they should be good to transplant into the garden. Tip number 7 is to plant more edibles into your landscape. Spring is when a lot of people refresh or replant their landscaping, so it's a perfect time to incorporate more plants that are both edible and ornamental. Research shrub-like plants that can be shaped into your landscaping design, but also provide something edible like like blueberry bushes, goji berry, currants, Camellia sinensis, which is the plant used to make tea like green tea, and rosemary. Other plants are highly ornamental while producing some sort of fruit or vegetable like pineapples, artichokes, and kale. Some dwarf fruiting trees can be trimmed to maintain a bushy or taller hedge-like appearance, like Barbados cherry, mulberries, bay laurel, which when the leaves are dried is the common bay leaf herb used in cooking. Vanilla plants are actually an orchid that would grow great up the side of established trees in warm tropical climates, or at the very least choose plants that support wildlife while looking great in the landscape, like beautyberry, holly, and sweet almond. Tip number 8 is March is an ideal month to begin planting a rose garden, giving the new bushes ample time to establish strong roots before the heat of summer sets in. For those in southern or hot climates, choosing Floribunda rootstock roses is especially beneficial. These grafted roses are known for their vigorous growth, resilience, and ability to thrive in higher temperatures. By planting now, you'll set your roses up for success and enjoy a beautiful, long-lasting display of blooms through the warmer months. And if you didn't know, roses also bloom on new growth. So make sure you prune your rose bushes by half right after they finish blooming to not only encourage lots of new growth that will form more flowers, but also continuously remove older leaves that carry diseases. Basically, the plant keeps regenerating new healthy leaves while you remove the ones affected by common rose diseases like powdery mildew and black spot. My 9th tip is to consider installing some sort of rain catching system. March is a great time to think about adding a rain barrel or other rain catching system to your garden setup. Not only does collecting rainwater help conserve a precious natural resource, but it can also save you money on your water bill, especially during those warmer months when watering becomes crucial. Rainwater is free of the salts and chemicals often found in tap water, making it healthier for your plants, and it's an excellent backup resource during droughts or watering restrictions. By installing a simple rain barrel to capture runoff from your roof, you'll have a sustainable, eco-friendly supply of water on hand to keep your garden thriving all season long. My last and 10th tip has to do with controlling spider mites. As spring temperatures rise, keep an eye out for spider mites, which can quickly overrun a garden if left unchecked. These tiny microscopic spiders feed on plant sap, often congregating on the undersides of leaves where they spin fine silk-like webs. You can actually see the dew collecting on the fine webs in the early morning time. Another sign you have spider mites is tiny white dots on the surface of the leaves. This is actually the spots where the spider mites have pierced your plant. Early detection is key because their populations explode quickly, so knocking them down early on is super important. To treat for spider mites, spray with organic insecticidal soap, neem oil, or spinosad. In hot climates, oil-based treatments can burn your plants, so I have a tendency to just use spinosad. You need to apply often to break their life cycle and capability to reproduce. If you don't, they quickly spread throughout the entire garden. Spider mites are not an easy pest to control, but treating them early really does help. I notice them in springtime the most, so that is why I'm giving you all a heads up. And that's my top 10 garden task tips and reminders for March. These tips will help you stay on track and get ready for the exciting spring garden season that's ahead. If you're eager to start planting, don't miss my next video where I share over 40 veggies and crops that you can sow right now this month in March. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy gardening.